to emergency contact? Who should be notified in case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I've spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I'm taking you guys through the journey that I've been on for the last 20 years at this time. I'm in Florence. It's 2017, 2018. When I first got to Florence, there was a lot of lockdowns. And some of them were unnecessary. Like, there was like 1 or 2 incidents that happened during that day. They had a female warden there, and she likes to put out the memos like, violence is not a way to settle your differences. We need to use words, shit like that. Like she didn't understand the environment that we live in. Yeah, of course, you want us to be able to conduct ourselves a little better and maybe not resort to violence to settle our differences or our disagreements. But, when people get into these things, they're not just getting into it just because the sake of getting into it, because it's fun, because they know the repercussion that comes with it. You're going to go to the SHU. You're going to be in the SHU for, depending on how serious the situation is, for months. You might get shipped out, or you might get charged. So a lot of things that happen in the penitentiary, a lot of it is necessary. Maybe not from, from the aggressor's point of view, from whoever's, doesn't know how to conduct himself, but from the person that's punishing them. Because most people are not just going to go out and look to get into stuff. Because we understand that no matter what type of confrontation you get into, there's no guarantee that you're going to come out on the good end of it. And there's been incidents where I've seen dudes get hit one time and die or unalive. My bad. I'm trying to be following the YouTube guideline, but then at other times, dudes can get poked up 20, 30 times and live. It's just, when your number is called, your number is called. I don't know who determines who lives and who don't. But we understand that each conversation that we get into, there's no guarantee that we're going to come out of it, unharmed. So at this time that I'm talking about right now, we're always back and forth on lockdown, because every time there's a fight, every time there's an incident, the warden is locking us down. And when they bring us back off of lockdown, they like to slowly integrate us back into, before we, give you a few hours here, a few hours there, before they open up the yard back up and be regular program. But Florence, the whole time I was there, the yard was never open. Like I told you before, we all would just wreck with our block. They had the yard separated. At one time, they just separated in half, where they had the blue side and yellow side, where CA and CB wrecked together. But, us being DA, there's only one unit, because our DB is for the crazies, and they don't want to come out to wreck. And for a little bit of time, they were allowing us to wreck with EA and EB. But that didn't last too long. So when we come off of this one lockdown, I come out, do my shower or whatever, get on the phone, get on the email, and rack back in. And then they let another tier come out. They might split the tier into 4. Might let half of the bottom tier come out for 2 hours, and so on and so forth, until they get everybody showered and give them opportunity to use the phone. But my cell is right in front of the native TV. Like I said, I live in 122 or 123. I can sit on my bunk, or I can sit on my chair, and I can watch TV through the slit. You have about a 6-inch width and about 2.5 feet, maybe 3 feet in length window that you can look out your cell in. And from where my cell is, I can see everybody that comes in and out of the front door. And when you come into our unit, there's a stair right there that goes up to a second tier. So I can see all the people that comes in within the first, 8 sales, whether it's bottom or second tier. So I get done doing my shower or whatever, I come back in, get settled in, and I watch my program. I got the remote. And they call whoever else out, and then they finally call the second tier. But when they let the second tier out, I'm watching TV, but like I said, I can see the stairs from where I'm sitting, and I see this white dude come out. And soon as I see him, I was like, oh shit, I know him. You couldn't miss him. He's got a big ass cross on his forehead. And I forget what his name is, but he act like he's a Christian or whatever, but he's got a big ass like Celtic cross around the middle of his forehead that comes down to the bridge of his nose and is about, maybe 3-4 inches wide. Now the reason I remember him is because back in Atwater, the SIS had run up on my homeboys, my homeboy Eddie Sua and Fauzi and a couple other homies. He snatched them up. They found some in Eddie's cell. I think they found a little one of them orange strip of Suboxone tucked back in the back of the locker or whatever, and they locked Fauzi and Eddie up. So when we find out they lock him up, I come out. I've never ever spoken to a staff without somebody standing there next to me. And the person standing there next to me don't have to be one of my homeboy. If I need to speak to a staff member, especially if it's SIS, SIS is like the internal affairs of the penitentiary. They're the only one that can arrest, that can refer cases on even the warden, They can arrest cops, guards, inmates, all alike. So at this time, one of the SIS dude was SIS Brown. So when I catch him on the yard, I see him on the yard, and I tell him, cause he's like, so I went over there to go holler at him about the homie. So when I approached him, he made a hot ass like, hey, of all the phones that you're using, I think I told you guys this story, I mentioned this before, the homie Rock from DMI. I had his phone, and the SIS is like, hey man, of all the dudes in the unit, you can't find no other phone than Rourke? I was like, what? I was like, why? His phone's hot? He's like, man, we monitor his shit when he checks his account, But me, I'm doing 26 years. And I'm on every type of restriction. I'm on visiting restriction. I'm on phone restriction. I'm on commissary restriction for my whole time in Atwater. For the whole 7 years I was in Atwater, I was on restriction. But it's not going to stop me from shopping. And it's definitely not going to stop me from using the phone. I use other people's phone. They kept writing me up for circumventing the phone. I kept getting shots. Whatever, go give me another phone. Go pay somebody else and buy somebody else's phone. So that was the reason why I was approaching SIS Brown. I was like, hey, listen, man, I'm doing 26 years in here. It's hard enough to keep a relationship, a healthy relationship while you in here. All my wife wants from me is for me to be able to call her every day. I'm gonna do that regardless how many times you guys gonna write me up. I'm gonna call my wife. So what's up? We're gonna keep doing this? Because you already know that's the only person I call. When I have other people's phone, that's the only numbers on that phone is my wife. I said, you guys listen to it, because I'm on the hot list in Atwater. In Atwater, twice a month, they come in and kick in my door and try to catch me slipping. But for the longest time, they never got nothing. They never, ever got anything from me when they came in through my cell to try to get something, to try to catch me slipping. So when we're talking about that, I already heard that the homie already got locked up. The homie Eddie, Fauzi, the homie K, and the homie Jimmy. You know, Fauzi's Samoan, Fauzi and Eddie's Samoan, and K and Jimmy, they're Vietnamese. You know, K and them, they lived in 5 building. By Fauzi and Eddie, they had moved them to 2B. So I'm like, man, what's up with the homie, man? Cause you know, like, when you're hustling, there's bound to be people that's gonna owe you money. And a lot of these cowards, they want the work. They're gonna tell you anything you want to hear, any type of story, whatever it is, just to get that fix. But they're obligated, the homies gonna give it to them on credit. They're obligated. They owe whatever they owe. But a lot of these busters know they ain't got the money to pay it. So they run up these bills, and then to try to get out of the bill, paying the bill, they drop a kite on you. They write a note to SIS. Oh, so-and-so over here in this block is selling this and that. Or so-and-so in this block over here is doing this and that. So SIS, they get bombarded with these kites of people that owe money and trying to get dudes knocked off so you don't got to pay that bill. And that's where this dude that I'm telling you about right now, this white boy with the cross on his head, comes into play. So when I ask him about Eddie and Fauzi, and like I said, I've never spoken to any of the staff without having anybody standing over there with me. And it don't matter if you're black, white, Mexican. I'd be like, hey, homie, can you come stand right here real quick? I'm gonna holler at these dudes. We do that. So, like, my people, they already know that my integrity is up to par. That it's not in me to be trying to backstab or trying to tell on people or anything like that. But being a person that pushes that line, I don't even want to give off the impression that there's something sneaky going on or anything like that. So every time I speak to a staff, I always have somebody pull up with me. And at the time that I was speaking to this dude, we had a Sereno dude that I knew. I asked him to come and stand over there while I hollered at this SIS about the homie. So I'm like, man, what's up with the homie, man? And SIS Brown's like, oh, they hit. I said, what do you mean they hit? Man, we got a kite on them, whoop-de-whoop, this and that. I'm like, but you know it, people, these dudes are always gonna be dropping kites on people, man. He goes, yeah, but this one particular dude, like, he wasn't trying to give up the name of the dude or nothing like that. But he's like, man, this one particular dude, he's got a lot of time. He just came into the system. He's only been on the yard a few months, but he's got like 20, 30 years. So it's like, this dude's got a lot of time. You already know if you do shit like this, it's gonna fuck off your career when it catches up to you. And he's like, man, so we had to have, like, they put some credibility to this dude because of the amount of time he got. And they also caught the homie, like I said, they found some work in the homie's cell, tape in the back of the locker somewhere, one little tiny piece, but it was enough for them to justify locking the homies up and not letting them back out. But through the conversation, I kind of, I'm not trying to put Brown on the spot or nothing like that. Like, he didn't come out and say who did it and whatnot. But, when shit like this happened, we already have our suspect in mind. You know what I mean? And there's certain people that's missing off the yard too. When the homies got picked up, there was other dudes that was missing off the yard. And in a roundabout way, he kind of confirmed that, this dude, he's got a, you can't miss him. He's marked, meaning the dude with the tattoo on his forehead. So in Florence, when I see him come down the stairs, I'm like, oh shit, right? So I'm trying to bust him. But, because I already know that I ain't got no paperwork on this dude. You know what I mean? Because it's jailhouse shit. Like I don't know about his case, or if he told on his case on the streets or anything like that. But I know that he told on the homies in Atwater and got the homies locked up in Atwater. But I ain't got no paperwork to produce. And I can't just go and take off on dude. I could, but my hands are kind of tied because at the same time, I got to be able to give the white boys the respect. You know, whoever's speaking for the unit, to give them like, hey, dude, you know, your homeboys this and that. And give them an opportunity to take care of it. It's just the way it is. You know, it's just politics. So when they finally let us out, I pull up with the white boy and say, hey man, that dude over there told on my homeboys in Atwater. He's like, what's up? And they're like, man, you got paperwork on this and that? I was like, no, I ain't got no paperwork, but I don't need you. I'm stamping it. I'm putting my integrity on the line by even saying some shit like that. Because you can't put a jacket like that on somebody if you're not willing to go and deal with the consequences, especially if it don't turn out to be true. You can't put, you know, a sex offender cases on somebody. You can't put a rat jacket on somebody without paperwork. And if you do, you better be willing to stand on it. But I told these dudes, you know, the few white boys that I knew in the block, I said, listen, I ain't got no paperwork on this dude. I'm just getting to let you guys know this is what it is. And I'm willing to go right there and handle it right now. It's like, oh, we can't allow you to touch one of our own, this and that. Wait till the yard opens up so we can talk to, you know, the higher ups and all that, right? So a couple days go by. They finally open up the yard and we're finally going to the kitchen to eat. And when we go into the kitchen, there's this Puerto Rican dude named Macro that was in Atwater with us. And he was my cellie before he got moved out of my block, which, you know, I'm kind of jumping a little bit ahead here. But when we go in the kitchen, you know, dude live in my block. We go in there and we're in the line for the chow. Macro sees him. He's like, oh. So he runs up on me. He's like, hey, man, that's the dude that told on Eddie. You know that's that dude, right? I was like, yeah. I was like, man, keep it down. Because I don't want to have, because dude know what he did. So I don't know where he's been since he's left Atwater. I don't know what he's been telling people or if he's been getting other people locked up. But he already know what he did. So in the back of his mind, he's really trying to stay under the radar. And I didn't want nobody spooking him by putting him out there until the white dudes that I spoke to in my block can figure it out. So at the end of the day, when we came back to the block, you know, they had me go out to the yard and speak to a couple other dudes that had, you know, I guess more authority, or that was higher up, you know, with the white boys. And I couldn't produce the paperwork, but I know he checked in Atwater. Now with the white boys, if you check in off the yard, that's just as good as being, or just as bad as being a rat or a sex offender. Like if you check in off this one yard and they find out you trying to make it on this other yard, they're gonna smash you. One thing I can say about these white dudes, they smashing dudes that check in. They smashing and everybody in between, sex offenders, rats, and all that. But like I said, I couldn't produce paperwork, but I presented to him like, look, if y'all don't want to deal with it, I'll deal with it. I want to deal with it, but I'm just giving you guys the respect and heads up. But it came down to where they're like, all right, you ain't got the paperwork that he told on your homeboy, this and that, but we've been hearing that he did check in Atwater, and they were going to deal with him accordingly from that aspect. So after we come back off the yard, they finally made a commitment to deal with dude. So we're waiting, you know, to see if this something happens. And I hear his name called, the lieutenant. The lieutenant calls him to the patio. You know, whatever his name was, his inmate so-and-so, report to the lieutenant's patio. You know, And the CO comes and tell him that it's for a UA. But I already know the move. I already know that somebody already hipped somebody to whatever it is about to happen. Because, you know, I tell you, like, men in the level that we are in, this high security level, a lot of us are on man time. You know, I've shared stories with you where, with the Crip riots, where the Compton Crip was going against all the other Crips. They made an appointment to go meet each other in the gym. And every single one of them went to the gym. They didn't jump on somebody over here to try to, you know, get an easy way out so the cops can come and lock them up. They didn't go check in. They didn't go tell on nobody. They went into the gym in Lompoc and got slaughtered, you know, the Compton dudes. But they went up there like warriors. But from my time in Lompoc, that was 2001, between 2001 and 2004. Fast forward to my time now in USP Florence, 2017, 2018, it's not the same no more. You know, the way that we used to conduct ourselves, like the people that came before me conduct themselves, like it just, the caliber of individuals just keep getting washed down with each year that goes by. So when I see the CO come and say something to him, and I'm like, I went up to the white dude, I was like, hey man, what's going on? Oh, they say that they calling him up there for a UA. I said, homie, it's, you know, 10 o'clock. It's just not the time that, you know, when they do UAs and randoms and stuff, there's certain times they do it. Usually it's after 4 o'clock count. So any other time they do that, there's something funny going on. And I'm letting them know, I'm like, dude, he's not gonna come back. Like, oh, we're gonna punish him when he comes back from a UA. I said, man, I'm letting you guys know right now, he's not coming back. I've seen it. I've been down 20-something years already. I've seen every fucking move in the book, you know? So he goes up to a lieutenant under the guys that they're calling him there for a UA. Now, it's about 10 o'clock. So 11 o'clock, they start running chow. We go to chow. We come back from chow. The dude ain't back yet. They call a yard move. Dude still ain't back yet. And sure enough, he went up there and they told him, hey, so we got word that somebody's gonna hit you. You wanna go back to the compound or you wanna check in? And he ended up checking in and got away. But that kind of left like a bad taste in my mouth with the couple of white dudes that I had rapport with. You know, and they were like, man, you know, you couldn't produce the paperwork. We can't just move on another race's word. And I understand all of that. I understand all of that. But I feel like, I mean, I'm not anybody special or anything, but I feel like through the course of my bid, I built a reputation that when something comes out of my mouth, I'm going to stand on that. Because I'm never going to slander somebody or make up some shit on somebody on some crud ball, slimy, cutthroat shit. Or envious or jealous shit. Jealousy, envy, you know, none of that. It's not, I don't care what everybody else is doing with their time. But I presented to the white boys at that time like, hey, I'm not asking you guys to do anything. I'm going to go handle it. But at the same time, it's politics and there's procedure, and I didn't want them to misstreat it as I'm just disregarding them being disrespectful. So I did my part and went through the change of command. And I gave them the respect that, hey, this dude's foul, homie. He told on my homeboy in Atwater. I'm trying to get at him. What's up? And they're like, oh, you can't, you know, we can't now allow another race to do anything to him. We're going to take care of it, but we need to speak to so-and-so and whoever. But, you know, there's a bunch of jailhouse rats, homie. There's people in there that don't want, with the white boys, everybody's in line to go on a mission. So there's dudes in there that act like they about it, but when they know their number's about to come up, and this dude's about to, and they send him on a mission to go hit this dude, I don't put it past them to send a kite to SIS. And you ain't got to write the kite up. You can get on the email and email it to them now. And they have a hotline. When you go to the phone, there's a hotline. SIS hotline. When they first put it up on the phone, people was taking that shit off. So they put up a sign saying, hey, anybody remove this shit, you're going to the shoe. So the number stayed up. Big old numbers, SIS hotline. So motherfuckers ain't got to run up to a lieutenant's office and tell on somebody. They can get on their computer and email them, or get on the phone and call them directly. You got these dudes that don't want to go put in that work. So when their number comes up and they got to go put in this work, ain't nothing to them but to get on the phone or get on that email and tell them, hey man, this dude, come get this dude. He's about to get chopped up. And when SIS gets a kite or information like that, they can't overlook it. Because at the end of the day, if this dude gets killed, there's going to be an investigation. There's going to be an investigation of the incident with the people involved, and also what type of information that SIS had. And it came back that, hey, you were warned this dude was going to get chopped up and you didn't do nothing. Well, that opens the SIS and the BOP up to a lawsuit. They don't really care about saving our lives or if we chop each other up, but they're not trying to pay for it. And that's part of the reason why they protect these dudes, because they don't want their family suing them if these busters get, chopped up. But, there's a lot of things in the penitentiary system that I don't really agree with, but being part of that community, we have rules in place that we have to abide by. None of us is above it. And for the most part, I'm going to abide by the rules that were set forth before me, because I understand those rules are in place to keep us safe, to keep us from crashing unnecessarily. But this bitch motherfucker got away, man. Welcome to the USP.